guys, I am so excited for today's video. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a while, and this is a video I feel like I wish I had seen, or I wish someone had put out when I was kind of getting into luxury makeup. And so today what we're going to be talking about my best and worst products from 10 of my favorite luxury brands. So the point of view of this is not necessarily my favorites, like when I talk about the best products, but this is more like if I were to go shopping with you and we walked into like Neiman Marcus or Saks and we saw all of these counters, you had never purchased any like luxury makeup before, and you had been, dying to try Tom Ford, and you said to me, Michelle, like what should I get from Tom Ford? If I'm gonna get one thing, what should I get from Tom Ford? Like, this is the scenario I have in my head. And then in terms of like the worst products, these are the products that I just don't think these are the ones that make the brand shine in any way. Like, they're just either very ordinary, or they're just downright not that great, or they didn't work out for me, whatever it is. But again, it's sort of that scenario. If you were to turn to me and we were shopping together, like, should I get this? Should I stay away from it? What should I stay away from? That kind of situation, that scenario. So that's what this video is going to be about. Again, I'm going to be talking about 10 brands, and I'm going to start with Chanel. So if we were to walk into Chanel, of course, there's a ton of Chanel stuff that I really, really love, and some stuff that I don't really like. But if you were to say, I've never tried Chanel before, what should I try? I would say try one of their lip glosses or one of their Rouge Coco Shines. I just think that these products are so incredible. I have so many of the Chanel lip glosses because I just fall in love with them over and over again. Every time I get a new shade, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful on my lips. And the Rouge Coco Shine lipsticks, these are lipsticks that are very, very moisturizing. They're very nourishing feeling. They have a soft pigmentation. There's definitely pigmentation. It definitely looks like, you've got something on your lips. But they also have this really beautiful finish to them where they look glossy, but not like super wet. They just look really very becoming on the lips. So I actually just had lunch and I don't actually have any lip products on. So I just pulled out this particular gloss. This one is 726. This is a great gloss from Chanel if you like that kind of like milky look. My favorite is the Rose Naif. You guys have heard me talk about that lip gloss 1,000 times, but you pair it with like kind of a contouring lip liner. And yeah, you just get like a really poutiness. But I just pulled out the shade Boy in the Rouge Coco Flash. I'm going to put this on for you guys so you can see the finish that I'm talking about. So you get this really beautiful glossy finish, and it's so pretty. It's like kind of between like a creamy satin lipstick and a lip gloss. Like, there's something really almost like a highlighty quality to it that I feel like it just makes your lips look so beautiful. And you'll see it in every single Rouge Coco Shine shade. It's not like it's just in some shades. It's just something about the actual formula that it kind of gives your lips this finish. It's gorgeous. So that's what I would say. If you've never purchased anything from Chanel, I would definitely start there. I just don't think you can go wrong with the lip glosses or the Rouge Coco Shine. In terms of my least favorite product from Chanel, this is just something that's okay. I don't think it's a horrible product, but again, in my scenario here that I have in my head, if we were at the Chanel counter and you picked this up and you turned to me and said, should I get this? I would say no. This is the highlighting powder in the shade Rosy Gold. They have a few other shades that I think perform a little bit better than this particular one, but this is their highlighting powder that is part of their regular line. All of the highlighting powders that they come out with in terms of their limited edition collections, those are generally like baked gelée highlighters. I would say always get those, but this highlighter that's part of their regular line, it's just not that great. It's just very, very lackluster. And again, this is the Rosy Gold. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell just on my finger there, but it's very kind of powdery with not a lot of highlighty goodness. I don't even know if you can see it on the back of my hand. It just sort of brushes away. It doesn't leave that much of an impact. And I'm not someone that needs like a super bright highlight. It's too dull. It's too dull to even bother. And there are some like little bits of micro glitter in there, which I don't like in terms of a highlight. I just feel like it takes away from the smoothness of a highlight. So this all around, I just feel like stay away from. And you know, the two other shades that I think that they have in the line, I think are better than this one, but I wouldn't bother with any of them. I would just wait for one of their like limited edition Baked Gelée kinds of highlighters. So yeah, this is something I would just tell anyone asking me what I thought about the highlighting powder. I would just say, don't bother with this. Okay, so that was Chanel. Let's move on to Clé de Peau. And there's so many things at Clé de Peau that I would recommend. But again, if you just wanted to try and like start with one thing, I would recommend their cream blushes. Their cream blushes, especially if maybe cream blushes have never been your thing, or you've always shied away from cream cheek products or been intimidated by using them, these are just so gorgeous. Let me just pull out. This is shade number 2, and they just have the most beautiful, subtle metallic sheen, and the level of pigmentation is so like spot on. I just don't even think you can mess up this blush if you wanted to. They blend out like a dream, no patchiness. They look completely blown out. They're long wearing. I wear them over powder, under powder. I wear them as like a blush base. They just work beautifully. I'm trying to think of a scenario where maybe they don't work. I can't think of one. They're just gorgeous. And I do like that they come in this pot. Makes it very easy to use with your finger. Makes it very easy to use with a brush. They're just wonderful. There's only 4 shades, and I always think to myself like, oh, I wish they'd come out with more shades, but they almost don't have to because they just have like the perfect shades. I only have 3 of them. I really want to get all of them, but here is number 2. That's the one that I held up. This one is number 3. And then this one is number 4. Number 4 is the first one that I got. I don't know where that divot came from, but number 4 is the first one that I got. It's the most neutral, but they are just gorgeous. Like all of the shades have the same sort of really subtle kind of satin sheen to them. They all behave the same. They all are also long lasting. Like I've had this one for a very long time. And for a cream product, it hasn't turned. It behaves exactly the same way it has always behaved. It's just incredible. So highly recommend the Clé de Peau cream blushes. I just think they're stupendous. Now, what I wouldn't recommend from Clé de Peau, and this is definitely personal to me, is their cashmere lipstick. Now, I love their regular lipstick, but they have a cashmere lipstick, which is like a soft matte finish. It is a very like silicone, slippy feeling kind of lipstick, and I think it's meant to feel moisturizing even though it gives off like a matte finish. And I'm sorry, I don't have any because I think I had 2 and I decluttered them because I don't like them. But what happens is after a few hours of wear, my lips start to feel really dry, like more dry than if I just wore like a matte lipstick. So there's something about that formula, and I've had this issue also with Tom Ford, which I'm also going to be mentioning when I talk about Tom Ford. But it's this lipstick formula, and let me know down below in the comment section if I'm the only one, but it's these lipsticks that have a matte finish, but they market them as like ones that feel really like they just glide on or whatever, and they feel really soft. They feel really like creamy or whatever. And I feel like that's true for the first 1 or 2 hours of wear, but then after that, all of a sudden my lips just feel like they're completely desiccated. Like there's no moisture in them at all. And that's the experience that I had with the cashmere lipsticks from Clé de Peau. I mean, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful in the tube. You know, they have that petal like shape to them. Yeah, and again, like at the beginning of the day, they feel great. And then at the end of the day, I feel like I need a lip mask. So that is something I would personally steer anyone away from. Cashmere lipsticks. Okay, next up, let's talk about Chantecaille. And you can imagine how difficult this was because Chantecaille is one of those lines I talk about often on my channel. I love so many of their products, but again, if we were to walk up to the counter and you've never experienced them and you want to get one thing, I would say just pick from their lip products. I love their lip veils. Their lip cheeks. I love their lip glosses. I have so many of their shades, but their lipsticks feel like lip masks. They are just gorgeous. So this is a lip veil, and it has these conditioning oils in them. They just leave your lips almost like the exact opposite experience I had with the cashmere lipsticks. They leave your lips like feeling nourished and moisturized and like you were wearing a lip mask all day. So that's the Lip Veil Lip Chic. Very similar. I feel like I've been told the difference between the two formulas so many times, but they're so similar in my mind because they both leave my lips feeling so nourished at the end of the day. So here is the Lip Chic. So Lip Veil Lip Chic. They have a very similar appearance, a very similar level of pigmentation, a very similar level of shine because they are so moisturizing. They're just incredible, incredible. And they do have a very faint kind of like vanilla cocoa fragrance, but it is very faint, which I appreciate in a lip product. I don't mind a little bit of fragrance, but I don't like a lot. Actually, the Lip Veil I don't think has anything. It's the Lip Chic that has a little bit of like sweetness to it. In any case, I don't think you can go wrong with any of their lip products, and again, including their glosses. The one product that I just didn't really have luck with, and I've already decluttered it so I don't have it, is their, I think it's called their Real Skin like face and eye stick. It basically looks like a stick concealer. It comes in like a little tube and you can raise it up and lower it. You know, what I love about Chantecaille products is that, you know, the product, once you apply them, they just look so flawless on the skin, and they're so, there's an elegance to their products. They're very effortless. You know, like their foundations look gorgeous on the skin, not because of a ton of pigmentation, but they just go on and they just like blur fine lines and they just make your skin look really smooth and soft. Their lipsticks are really beautiful. They plump up your lips, you know, their blushes are just, you know, they make your face glow. There's something about this Real Skin face and eye stick that I felt like just didn't really have that kind of Chantecaille elegance. It was a little bit dry on my skin and just like a little bit thick. Like I just didn't really like the texture too much. And I have their Le Camouflage Stilo, which is their clicky pen concealer, which so it's creamier. It's not in stick form. It's like a little bit more of like a liquid cream. That I find to be incredibly beautiful, and I would recommend that over the Real Skin. Maybe it's because I have dry skin. I have more mature skin. I'm 48. I'll be 49 in a few months. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's meant for oilier skin or, you know, a different skin type. But again, that's my experience. And if you know, you were to ask me if we were standing at the counter, I would say I don't really recommend that one. So that is Chantecaille. Let's talk about Charlotte Tilbury. So this, you know, all of these were hard. All of these were hard because these are all brands where I have just a ton of favorites from all of their lines. But my first love when it comes to Charlotte Tilbury, and it continues to be so, and this is very broad, so hopefully you find this helpful, is I just love her cheek products. I love her blushes. I love her glow wands. I love her, that bronze and sculpt palette. I love her bronzers. She really does a magical like cheek area situation. Like, do you remember how much fun, how much we all loved these cheek to chic Swish and Pop blushers? I probably picked out the wrong color, but this is First Love. But there's that center, you know, people were calling it like the nipple blush. But I was like, that was so cool when she came out with these. And I still love these blushes so much. They have a really beautiful subtle sheen to them. I love the idea of having two blushes so you can, you know, add like a deeper shade to the apples of your cheeks, or you can do more of like a deeper shade on the outside if you want, put more of like a highlight color there. Obviously you can do whatever you want with these. But yeah, I just loved the concept of these, and the Film Star Bronze and Glow. This palette I just love. This is my second one. I had one with the original packaging and it was so old. I was just about panning this contour. And then they sent this to me and I was like, you know what, let me just declutter that other one and use this. So that's why this one looks so new. But I love this sculpt powder and the highlight powder in here. They both have a really soft, fine texture. This sculpt shade is like so perfect, at least for my skin tone. It's a cool toned kind of like contour product, but it's not too cool tone. It's not like gray. It's just a very cool tone brown. This highlight I think is gorgeous. So I just really, really love her cheek products. Oh, I have this sitting out here. Her latest Pillow Talk Multi Glow palettes. This is the deeper one in Dream Light. You guys know how much I love this. This appeared in my favorites for this past month. And yeah, I just really, really love her cheek products. They just always seem to work for me. I love the glow ones. I should have taken that out, but those are the ones with the spongy tip. It's like the liquid ones. Those are great. The contour, the highlight, the blush, I love them all. So there's just something about her cheek products that I really, really enjoy. I just don't think you can go wrong with any of them. So that is what I would kind of steer you towards at the Charlotte Tilbury counter. What I would kind of steer you away from, again, this is like my own experience and from the comments that I saw in one of my last videos, my recent fails video. I'm not the only one, but her eyeshadows, and this is the latest one, this is her Pillow Talk Dreams palette. Her eyeshadows, while they perform really beautifully, I do think they're formulated really, really nicely. I think they are smooth, they're easy to work with. For the most part, of course, there's some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I think her eyeshadows perform really beautifully. My issue is, and again, I don't think I'm the only one, is that they all really, really warm up on my lids. They get very, very copper in tone, and I don't necessarily mind that, but I don't like all of my all of my eyeshadows to turn really coppery on my lids. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm just not seeing it in the pan. I don't know if it's some sort of oxidization. I really don't know. I don't know why it happens, but I don't think I'm the only one. And it seems to happen with a majority of her palettes. I'm not talking about the ones that are like blue or her like green. Those don't turn copper, but the ones that look pink, the ones that even will look mauve or even more like purpley plummy, for some reason they just really warm up on my lids. So I don't know if I would necessarily like steer you away from the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows, but I would definitely have you like actually apply them to your eyes and see what happens and like maybe sleep on it. That situation. So that is Charlotte Tilbury. All right, next up, let's talk about By Terry. By Terry, I think their standout product and something I would definitely urge you to purchase or at least play with is their brightening CC serum. I have in my hand shade number 4, Sunny Flash. I actually have this all over my face. There are many different shades. This is probably the deepest one that they have, and it gives my skin like a really beautiful bronzy glow. Like the peachy and the pinky tints tend to be a little bit more color correcting. But what I love about this is it is a serum and it has this beautiful like metallic sheen to it. So you can use this all over your face if you want. You can use this just in small areas, like you can use the lighter shades. If you have my skin tone, you can use the lighter shades as highlight. You can use this just as like a spot bronze. It's just a very versatile product. And I love that it's a serum because it really feels like skincare. When I put it all over my face, I don't feel like I'm putting like makeup all over my face. It doesn't have a heavy feel. It's very, very light. It feels great on the skin. There is the By Terry Rose fragrance to this, but it's fairly fresh. It's like on the lighter side, and it definitely fades. I feel like I smell it for a little while, but it fades after, somewhere by the time I'm done like doing my makeup. But this is such an iconic product for them, and it's so good. I hope they never ever like reformulate this or get rid of this from their line because this is so good. I always whip this out, especially like in the summer months. Like I really love putting this over in lieu of base, or if I'm just looking to kind of like enhance my complexion. I just love this. So By Terry Brightening CC Serum is definitely something in that line that I would say yes to. A product from By Terry that I would probably steer you away from is their Hyaluronic Hydro Balm. And it's actually all the things that I love in a lip product. They're very, and I'm sorry, I don't have any because I decluttered all of them. They're very nourishing. The colors are really beautiful. They're soft on the lips. They're really comfortable to wear. They're beautiful. They're a beautiful lip product. However, the fragrance in these balms is overbearing. It is so much more than their regular products that just have like a rose balm to it. And it's like, it's not the same rose fragrance that I smell in the other like By Terry products, like this one, like their lip balms, which are incredible. You do have to like rose, but there was something more synthetic about the fragrance in these hyaluronic hydra bombs that I just did not like, and you can taste them. And I thought, well, if it fades, fine, but I would, put them on and wear them for a while, and it was just too much, and I just had to get rid of them, and I was so bummed because I really did like the actual like formula of them, the way they felt. I love the colors of them. Yeah, they were so like a Michele kind of lip product, and I was so excited for them, but the fragrance was just overbearing. So that is something I would kind of steer you away from. Okay, now let's talk about Dior. And again, this is really tough. There are a lot of things I love about Dior, but something that I find to be pretty tried and true in their line are their concealers. So I first fell in love with their Forever Skin Correct concealer, and this was a couple years ago, and I just love it. It has such a beautiful creamy texture. It wears well underneath my eyes, on my face, which is really fantastic. Usually I feel like I test concealers just under my eyes and make my determination from there. But there was something about this that I just wanted to kind of like put all over, and it's great. Like if you just want to maybe like spot conceal some places and not put foundation on, this is a perfect product for that. So I fell in love with that. And then they just came out with this Backstage concealer, which you guys know I fell in love with. This is amazing. I don't really like it as much as this on my face, but this looks great underneath the eyes, and I love it. And so, yeah, I've just been a really big fan of Dior concealers. I'm like, are they coming out with more? What else can we do with their concealers? But these two are great, and I feel like you just can't go wrong with them. What I don't particularly like from Dior are their loose powders. I love their pressed powders. Their Backstage like baked gelée pressed powder is great. They had a pressed powder with like the silver top that I think they maybe discontinued, but I love that powder. That was really wonderful. But I tried this powder, which is their Dior Forever Cushion Powder in the shade Light. So it does come in this like cushion packaging, but it's just a loose powder. You can probably see it all rising up, but it's just a loose powder. And then I have one of their older powders with the silver cap. Both of these loose powders, the one with the silver cap, which I think has been discontinued, and this one, it's like all in the air. And this one, no matter how little I use, I feel like I'm always using too much. It's incredibly mattifying, and it's to the point where I feel like it makes my skin look really dry, and I don't like that. I mean, I have very dry skin. I can't imagine, and even if you have oily skin, you don't want your skin to look too dry. You want things mattified. You may not necessarily want excess shine, but I feel like these powders kind of took it like one step too far for me with my dry skin. So I would not like this. I don't feel like this is where Dior shines with their loose powders. I would definitely recommend one of their pressed powders. Obviously, I would recommend one of their concealers, but so many of their products are so incredible. So, the eyeshadows I love so much, but I just wouldn't bother. There's so many other like amazing loose powders out there that I wouldn't go to Dior for loose powder. So sorry, Dior, but that's how I feel about your loose powders. Okay, next for Tom Ford. I was debating between two things to recommend, and this came out the winner. So just in general, I would say any of the baked gelée eyeshadow quads from Tom Ford. I didn't have the best luck with Rose Prism or Metallic Denim. I think those are the two that kind of came out together, and more recently that, I don't know, those were kind of lackluster, but all of the other baked gelée formula Tom Ford shadows I have loved. This one is First Frost. This one is limited edition. I think you may be able to still find this maybe in stores, but this is probably one of my favorites. But the baked gelée ones, I mean, his regular shadows are fine too. I don't know if I would like run to Tom Ford just to get one of those eyeshadow quads, but I would for one of these eyeshadow quads. So it's the eyeshadows with the TF stamp in them. They look, like baked products always look a little pillowy. in the pan, where pressed pan shadows look like they're pressed powders in there. They just have an inherently different look to them. But these Baked Gelée shadows are gorgeous. I think they refer to these as their wet dry formula. So if you were to go to a Tom Ford counter, you would say, you know, which one of these have the wet dry formula to them. I think that's the equivalent to these like Baked Gelée that I keep calling Baked Gelée. But yeah, you can use these shadows wet or dry. Wet will give you a more intense look. I like using them dry because you get a really beautiful like veil of color, and they're just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I love them all. I think the most popular ones I would say are Honeymoon and Nude Dip. Those are probably the two most popular Baked Gelée eyeshadow quads from Tom Ford. Those are incredible. Nude Dip is so ethereal looking. It's just gorgeous. So I don't think you can go wrong with those eyeshadows from Tom Ford. Much like Clé de Peau, the one product that I would stay away from are the satin matte lipsticks from Tom Ford. And for the same reasons that I cited for the Clé de Peau cashmere lipsticks, it's the same idea. They give off a matte finish, but they slip slide on, and they're supposed to be so super comfortable on the lips, which they are in the beginning. But once they really set down, and once, you know, like the day goes on and the day progresses, they really, really feel incredibly dry on the lips. And then, yeah, it's just, and I thought, oh, maybe reapplying would help, but it just kind of adds to, it just got messy. It didn't look good. I just didn't like that formula. I just don't think they wore well. I didn't think that they were actually very comfortable in the end. And so, yeah, I would definitely stay away from those lipsticks. So yeah, that is Tom Ford. Okay, next up we have Sisley. Now, Sisley is a tough one because, and I'll say this, I wanted to recommend their lip liner. But I know, again, I had this scenario in my head. We walk up to the Sisley counter and you're looking at all the products and you're like, what should I get? I feel like lip liner is such a letdown. It's so anticlimactic, but I love the Sisley lip liner. So I would recommend that. You know, if you were to pull one out and say, Michelle, should I get this? I would say yes, definitely. But what I have been loving from Sisley, what I constantly reach for, is their Phyto Poudre Compact in number 2 natural. So this is just a straight up, you know, powder that I like to use. It sets down foundation, it takes shine down, but it leaves your skin looking so satiny soft. And I love that it's pressed, so it's just a lot easier to use than loose powder. I tend to like the way loose powder looks on my skin, but this is so incredible. And there's 4 different shades, and number 4 is, I think it's called bronze, or maybe I just made that up because I use it as a bronze, but it's deep enough for me to use as a bronzer. And so that's also amazing. But I just really love this pressed powder. I just think it's incredible. And in fact, this is my second one because my first one I dropped and it broke, and that's how much I loved it because I was sent that one in PR and I went out and purchased a replacement. So I love this pressed powder. But for me, right now, this is what I would say if I were to bring you to the Sisley counter, this is what I would suggest you to purchase. What I would tell you to stay away from, except for one, are their mascaras. The only one that works for me is So Stretch. All of the other mascaras I have tried, and they flake and they smudge on me. I don't know what it is. I don't know why this one is different. This one just doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge, it looks great on my lashes. I really enjoy this mascara. In fact, I have it in the shade 2, dark brown. But they have like a So Long, and they have a So Volume, and they may have another one. But anyway, outside of So Stretch, the mascaras just don't work for me. So I would say just kind of stay away from the Sisley mascaras. Again, there's tons of beautiful mascaras elsewhere. I don't think mascaras is necessarily where Sisley shines. All right, and for Surratt, again, another brand where there's so many things that I would recommend, and I, you know, would obviously recommend the Dewdrop Foundation. I absolutely love that, but I feel like, okay, if you've never ever tried the Surratt brand, you're just really interested in Troy Surratt's products, where should you start? And I just think his eyeshadows and his blushes, basically his powder products, are gorgeous. And you can see I'm a big fan. So these are all the eyeshadows I have. These are all the blushes that I have. And I've had them forever and the quality is still there. I still use them and they still perform beautifully. So they're just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I believe there is a very unique manufacturing process to these products. I think, don't quote me, but I think the process that they use is like a slurry process. So they're not exactly like a pressed pigment, but they're not exactly like a typical kind of like baked powder. I feel like, or at least they behave like sort of in between. I feel like when I pick up the product on my brush, they act like a powder product. You can see it at the end of your brush, it looks powdery, but as soon as you start to work it into your skin or onto your eyelid, it's almost like they melt and they almost kind of turn into a cream, or they start to behave and look like a cream. Just gorgeous. Like if there's any shades in the blushes that you enjoy, any shades in the eyeshadows that appeal to you, I would say just get it. Just get it. You can't go wrong. They're all really beautiful and they all perform outstandingly. Like you'll just fall in love with them. So much like Dior, the one product I would not recommend from SURRATT is their loose powder. And I had it, I've decluttered it. Like no matter how little I use of the powder, I just look really dry. It just makes my skin look really dry. Obviously it is very mattifying, but I would use just a teeny tiny amount and it just would like just suck the moisture out of my skin. So for me personally, I would say stay away from it. It's also like something with the packaging too that I don't like. I remember it was kind of like in almost like a cushion compact, and you know, you could refill it, it was refillable, and you would open it up and it was always kind of messy, and that really bugged me. So I just wasn't a fan of the loose powder in many different ways, the packaging and the way it made my skin look. Okay, last but not least, we're gonna talk about Guerlain. I couldn't resist talking about the meteorites. I would say absolutely give the meteorites a shot. If you guys don't know what they are, that's their form of powder, but they're in these pearls, in these pressed pearls. There is a violet scent, which I happen to really enjoy. It's like a very powdery kind of floral fragrance. What I love about these meteorites is using them as a finishing powder. And when I first picked up meteorites, I didn't know, I don't know if it's how you should use them, but I didn't know how they worked best for me. I had to really figure it out. And other YouTubers helped me, thank goodness, because I just kind of stuck a regular powder brush in here and just kind of like dusted it on my face. It looks way too heavy and glittery and just really like the exact opposite of like a refined kind of look. It did not look good. But if you use this, at least this is how I love using it. If you use this as a finishing powder and you take a buffing brush, much like what I always talk about, the Sonia G, I still call this the Face One brush, but I know this is something else now. Anyway, her big buffing brush, and you dip it in and you really buff it into your skin. Woo! Your skin is gonna look like polished marble. It is incredible. It's transformative. So I really love this powder. I love it with this brush and using it in that way. And the one product I would say, I'm not even sure if it's the one product because I'm not that familiar with Guerlain lip products, but I did try their Kiss Kiss Bloom lipstick. I think they just came out with a different Kiss Kiss lipstick, but I remember it was the Kiss Kiss Bloom because what I didn't realize was the bloom indicated that there's some sort of like floral skincare in the lipstick, and it's more of like a tinted balm actually, but the fragrance, it's like the By Terry. The fragrance was overpowering. It was so strong. I could taste it. It was really bothersome. I actually purchased it from Sephora like over a year ago and returned it because it was just too much. I'm tempted to try this new Kiss Kiss version they've come out with just to see if they've like toned down the fragrance, but yeah, I just didn't like it at all. It was just too much. And yeah, if you were to ask me, if we were standing at the Guerlain counter, if you should get them, I would have you take a whiff of it first and see if it's bearable to you. But yeah, it was, I remember I could smell it when I was about to open the box. So I hadn't even opened up the lipstick. I was about to open up the box and I could smell the fragrance already. And I was like, what is happening? And yeah, it was too much. I liked the actual formula. The lipstick itself was great, but I couldn't wear it. I couldn't wear it because of the fragrance. So that is something I would steer you away from. And I think that's it. I think I did all 10 brands, yeah, that I wanted to talk about. So that is it. Let me know if you found that helpful. I feel like I get a lot of comments. I've gotten a lot of comments over all the years that I've been doing YouTube, like, oh, I wish, we could go shopping, you could help me or whatever. So I hope that was helpful. And again, I love all of these brands. So there's obviously a ton of stuff that you've heard me talk about over the years that I really enjoy. I still enjoy those things, but I really wanted to, say to myself, okay, if someone has really just never, ever, ever like purchased anything from Chanel before, like what's the one thing, And so I really wanted to have that mindset coming into this video. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.